We saw that horrible murder of Renee Nicole Good. ICE agent looked her in the face, looked her in the eyes, and shot her in the face. By the way, that was gun violence, too. Gun violence done by the state. Gun violence done by our government.
Yes, that is a Democrat congressman, not too bright, by the name of Max Frost. Max Frost. I don't think he has any relationship to the old band Max Frost and the Troopers that did the great song, Nothing Can Change the Shape of Things to Come. No relation to that. He's a Florida Democrat. He's a radical. He's an agitator, and the Democrats love electing not very bright agitators to the Congress of the United States of America. They got their Ilhan Omars and AOCs and shaved head lunatics from another galaxy. They've got a lot of mentally ill people. Max Frost. Yeah, looked her right in the eye. So, wait a minute. Was she looking him right in the eye when she punched it and crashed her car into him, giving him internal bleeding, internal injuries? Or Max Frost, is that a different thing altogether? I want to get to this local news from, and this, look, these guys have been talking about this for a long time. They in Minneapolis, a lot of the news reporters have been talking about the Somali fraud and all the theft that has been going on. And, it turns out that, $700 million in cash money has been tracked they show up at the airport with probably stolen Samsonite luggage. I guess they could buy it with all the cash they have. They show up with rolling bags full of $100 bills. And they ship them off to Somalia, where there's a terrorist group called Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab. I love the chicken Al-Shabaab. Some people prefer the beef Al-Shabaab, but I like the chicken Al-Shabaab with the rice and the side salad. Chicken Al-Shabaab, but they're a terrible radical Islamic jihadi terrorist group in Somalia. And the Somalis in Minnesota are stealing our money by the billions of dollars, supposed to be to feed children. And the Democrats are okay. They kill children. They don't like children. But listen to this. A Fox 9, Minneapolis, Minnesota, KSMP. They've got, it's St. Paul and Minneapolis and all that stuff, which is out of order. It should be SPM or MSP or something, but it's apparently KSMP, Minneapolis and St. Paul, out of order. In Minneapolis, and they've got a reporter named Jeff Bally. And listen to this. In 2018, that is a lot of years ago now. That's 8 years ago, technically, if he did it in January. And here's the reporter, Jeff Bally, talking about Somali fraud and people taking bags of cash. It's been going on for years and years. Local news reporting it, 60 Minutes not reporting it, the New York Times not reporting it. And here it comes, 2018. KSMP Minneapolis reporter Jeff Bally.
It's the morning of March 15th. We're chasing a tip about a man who's leaving the country. Our sources tell us he just took a carry-on bag through security that was packed with $1 million cash. You can do that as long as you fill out one of these government forms. We're told these cloak and dagger-like scenarios now happen almost weekly at MSP International.
Sure, at MSP International, Minneapolis St. Paul International, and they got almost weekly. And these Somalis, they're always Somalis, they show up with rolling bags filled with $100 bills, filled with cash, lots and lots of American cash. Where do they get it? Is it good tip money from the restaurants where they're working? Maybe working overtime shifts at the 7-Eleven or something, where you get $1 million in cash and $100 bills to stuff into a bag, and then you're flying out of the country. Isn't that amazing? Cincinnati, I guess, is the number 2 city in the country for Somali, the Somali population of the United States, and the same thing's happening there. Suitcases full of cash. Somalis going back to Somalia, which, was half run at least by Al-Shabaab, a radical Islamic terror group. Fox 9, this is Bally.
In 2015, investigators documented $14 million in carry-on cash. By 2016, it had mushroomed to $84 million, and then last year, $100 million.
$100 million in cash. This is not, we're not doing bank transfers. We've got suitcases full of cash. Michael, you ever go to the airport with a suitcase full of cash, $1 million in $100 bills? I'm just curious because personally, I have not done that. I've never done that myself, but it is an enormous amount of money we're talking about. And the Democrat Party's fine with this because it's taxpayer money, and they're buying Somali votes. They're buying Somali votes because, they're criminals. Now, listen to this. This is pretty amazing stuff. The money that we're talking about is an enormous amount of money, of course. And here's Walter Kurt doing some math for us, Data Republican. So I did some general numbers on the Somali fraud cash going through Minneapolis Airport. According to reports, over 2 years, they moved roughly $700 million through the airport in cash. And he calculates that means if they used $100 bills, they moved 7.7 metric tons of cash. 7.7 tons, metric tons, no less. That's heavier than a standard ton. Metric tons to move $700 million, assuming they're $100 bills and not $20 bills, in which case, of course, it would be 5 times as heavy. But there we go. Isn't that amazing? Over 2 years, $700 million in $100 bills would be 7.7 metric tons in cash in $100 bills. And you gotta keep in mind that that's just what was caught. That's what was flagged. That's what was detected. And what I'm hearing is that security at the airport in Minneapolis-St. Paul, there are lots and lots of Somalis working at the airport, working for ICE, working security, working the counters, working baggage, working in the baggage in the front, baggage in the basement. A lot of Somalis working at the airports. But isn't that amazing? The number is pretty amazing, 7.7 metric tons, $700 million in American cash that they didn't earn, they stole, and they're funding Al-Shabaab, the terrible terrorist organization, not just a chicken and rice dish. And that would essentially mean that the Somalis were taking $1 million duffel bag of cash through the airport every single day, right? $1 million a day, a duffel bag full of cash for 2 years every day. And here's the local news covering it years ago. And the news media in New York and in Washington, D.C. Just can't be bothered with such things. Further, he says we can assume that this is this is only the money that was flagged, right? This is what was caught. If the Somalis were just wandering through the airport without declaring a bag of cash, we'd be talking 10 times the amount. The question then becomes, why Minneapolis? Well, some quick discussing on the subject with regular travelers, Minneapolis-St. Paul. They point out the Somalis run the airport. They're the ground crews. They're the airport staff. They're the TSA. We have an airport in the United States of America run by pirates, he notes. That's kind of a problem, he says. More on that when we think find out where the money is going later. But isn't that amazing? And the Democrats in Minneapolis and Minnesota, they've known about this for years because the local news people have been covering it for years, and they, of course, did nothing about it. The story continued with the reporter, it's Bally, and talking to Glenn Kearns, a former detective who's been tracking the money.
Kearns tracked millions of dollars in cash that was leaving on flights from Seattle. It was coming from hawalas, businesses used to courier money to countries that have no official banking system. Some immigrant communities rely on hawalas to send funds to help impoverished relatives back home. Kearns discovered some of the money was being funneled to a hawala in a region of Somalia that's controlled by the Al-Shabaab terrorist group.
The Al-Shabaab terrorist group, so wait a minute, they're stealing billions in American tax dollars, getting them in $100 bills, filling suitcases, and funding a radical Islamic terrorist group named Al-Shabaab. And isn't that amazing? Glenn Kearns, former detective.
So I talked to a couple sources who had lived in that region, and I said, if money is going to this hawala, do you think it's going to Al-Shabaab? And he said, oh, definitely. That area is controlled by Al-Shabaab, and they control the hawala there.
the hawala. You got your hawala because too primitive to use banks and things like that. So the primitive people of Somalia, the Horn of Africa, are robbing us blind. The Democrats shrug. They don't care. They just want the votes. They just want the power. And the news media, where are they? Where the hell are they? Just amazing stuff. Feds probe hundreds of millions in suspected Somali cash. Cash, nothing but cash, in luggage leaving Minneapolis Airport. Leaving the Minneapolis Airport. Transportation Security Administration flagged nearly $700 million in cash detected in passengers' luggage leaving the Minneapolis Airport in the last 2 years. A massive cash exodus believed to be tied to Somali immigrants and their money couriers. Homeland Security official told Just the News. Just the News. John Solomon, great reporter, his great organization. The officials said the cash movements out of Minneapolis, out of Minnesota, Minnesota's largest airport, began about a decade ago, around the time Democratic Governor Tim Walz took office, and has grown substantially in recent years. Again, this initial news report that I'm sharing with you is 8 years ago, and this has been going on, and now we're just saying in the last 2 years, it's $700 million that have been flagged. So in the last 10 years, this is more money than Somalia has ever seen. This is pretty extraordinary stuff. The officials said the cash movements through Minnesota's largest airport began about a decade ago, around the time Tim Walz took office, grown substantially, though all were legally declared of the $700 million to U.S. Customs and adhered to the rules. The bundles of cash, the suitcases full of cash and luggage, some as much as $1 million in a single trip, raised regular suspicion among TSA agents. Gee, why? Here are some Somalis who look like pirates from Captain Phillips, and they've got suitcases with $1 million and $100 bills in them, and they're just going through the airport smiling because, why not? In March of last year, a federal jury rather than grand jury, convicted the head of a now defunct organization, Feeding Our Future in Minnesota, for what prosecutors called the largest ever fraud of pandemic aid, which involved $250 million. The BBC reported, but 60 Minutes didn't, and George Stephanopoulos on ABC News didn't. $349.4 million in cash discovered leaving Minneapolis in 2025. $349 million in cash, in bags, leaving Minneapolis alone. All these Somalis, and it was COVID-19, Chinese Wuhan money to feed the kids, feed the children. You know how that goes. Isn't that amazing? Just extraordinary. Bally, covering the story and talking to the former detective, and we're being robbed blind. And the Democrat Party is perfectly comfortable with all of it, and that means the overwhelming majority of the news media, too. Bally, the reporter Bally, on daycare fraudsters.
The business was suspected of billing the government for over $1 million worth of bogus child care services.
Did any of the money go overseas?
We are aware that some of the funds went overseas, which she was cashing out money from the business.
She'd taken a 2-month trip from Minnesota to Dubai and then Kenya, staying at times in $800 a night hotel rooms. She used an app on her phone to bill the state of Minnesota for child care services while she was out of the country.
Sure, why not? Now, again, this reporting was 2018. And just in the last 2 years, that's 2018. Just in the last 2 years, 2024 and 2025, $700 million in stolen money in cash going through the airports. Not a thing done about it. We are a stupid people. Boy, I am telling you. Yep. Jeff Bally, Fox 9 KSMP in 2018, reporting the story for Democrats trying to follow along. It's now 2026. And that was going on then. In the last 2 years, $700 million in Wuhan money, supposed to be for the children. The children. What about the children? I like to be close to the children.
Hey, what did this job pay?
Nothing.
Don't!
Unless you're crooked.
Woohoo!
Let's go back to the telephones, Michael, talk to the great American people on this Great American Friday, except in Minnesota. Let's go to Alberto, calling from Miami, Florida. Retired police officer. Alberto, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning.
Welcome.
I don't, thank you. I don't like the way the narrative is moving in the case of the use of force by the ICE officer in Minneapolis. I'll explain why. It appears that even from official sources, they're moving towards the fact or non-fact that the officer was not hit by a vehicle. All right?
Right.
This is like comparing to the case of the use of force when I have a suspect in front of me with a firearm. The question should not be whether or not I was shot first before I responded by killing the subject. Right? It should be whether the suspect had the ability and possible intention of killing me. He had the capability. In the case of the in Minneapolis, this person, the ability of inflicting harm, deadly harm to the officer, was the vehicle, being in possession and in control of a vehicle.
Right.
That authorizes the officer to use deadly force without waiting for him to be run over or, being in contact with the vehicle.
Right. Right. And every police officer in the country knows that, right?
Yes. But unfortunately, the narrative, even by official sources by ICE, is getting to be that that the officer was in fact hit by a vehicle. That should not be the case. The case should be that if you're confronted by a vehicle, and in this particular case, the lady also resisted arrest because I think she was placed under arrest. So she was already resisted.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And she continued to be in control of the vehicle and to move. So he was absolutely justified in using force. And I think the official sources should stress that more than the fact that the officer was not hit, because by doing so, the expectation would be, the implicit expectation is that unless the officer is not hit, he's not justified in using force. And I don't like that the way that thing is advancing.
Right. Yeah, I got you, Alberto, and I'm with you 100%. And, we've got the videotape, we've got the video done by the police officer, and so much more. Now, when Barack Obama was the president of the United States and all the media voted for him on Election Day, they covered him like he was a family friend invited over to Thanksgiving dinner in all matters. And Barack Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. And they said, he deported huge numbers of illegal aliens. And it turns out a lot of it is a lie, because they counted numbers. They grabbed illegals at the southern border and turned them around and said, no, you can't come in. And they counted those as people deported because they lie about everything. And it's what they do. They're the left. But CNN, when their hero, he could slow the rise of the oceans, you remember, he was in the White House and he's deporting people. And CNN said, we'd like to go for a ride along, get in the vehicles with ICE agents that are out doing raids and arresting illegal aliens, because at CNN they told the Biden White House, the Obama White House, we want to praise you for deporting all of these illegal aliens, because illegal aliens are here illegally, and that's bad. And CNN was in favor of Barack Obama deporting large numbers of illegal aliens. And CNN doesn't. When I was with CNN for a long time, I did ride-alongs with police in D.C. and going out and to crime scenes and all that fun stuff. I remember at a crime scene, police chasing the criminals down an alley, and I went down with the cops, and I actually found a Tech 9 mini machine gun on the side of the alley. I'm like, hey, look what we got over here. Somebody threw their Tech 9 over here. That was kind of fun. Midday crime spree in D.C. That was fun. Very close to where the CNN bureau was at the time. And so here is the CNN story. while Barack Obama was in the White House about how great it is that ICE is out there rounding up illegal aliens.
Under the cloak of darkness in Chicago,
Attack one, guys.
an immigration and customs enforcement team gears up for another long day, pursuing undocumented immigrants who have been convicted of crimes in the U.S. ICE agents mistakenly arrest the target's brother.
In the process of talking to him in the vehicle, he then said, "Oh, no, I'm actually so-and-so. Who you're looking for is over here, this other address." He led us to that address, and we were able to actually arrest the individual.
Were they asking, where are your people of color? Do you have people of... Because that's what the Democrats are saying yesterday, that the ICE people are going up to homes in Minneapolis and asking where their people of color live in the neighborhood. That's what the Democrats are claiming because of the mental illness. But listen to CNN enthusiastically covering and then you go and they tell us that the neighbor over there, he's illegal, he's a gang member. Look at the tattoos all over his face. And CNN is very excited. And I love that they arrested the wrong guy, the brother of the guy. And then it's just, ha, ha, ha. It's just a fun little, gosh, what a moment.
Do you have evidence, right, that he's using a fake identity or...
That is correct. We believe he's been using a U.S. citizen's identity to live and work. He has an Illinois driver's license. Third target, he has an unauthorized use of a weapon, which was a firearm. He has a couple DUIs. He is a criminal. He has an extensive criminal history. And by taking him out of the community, it's making the community safer. And that's ICE's purpose, is to focus on criminals and community safety by taking these recidivist criminals out of our communities.
The recidivist criminals out of our communities, I think that's real good, and it's a good idea. And, the gang affiliations and all this. And CNN is nodding, and they got the dramatic music in the background, like, ooh, this is real good. They're getting the bad guys off the street. This is CNN covering ICE raids during the Obama administration, when ICE raids were a real good thing, and that's wonderful. And they said, well, oops, in the report they said, this guy is the wrong guy. This is his brother. Didn't mean to get his brother, so they let him go. And it was, ha, ha, ha. Oh, but they quickly let him go, so it was all okay. Isn't that amazing? And CNN in 2016, they couldn't have been more thrilled. That was, I believe that was the year that Donald Trump was elected president and Hillary Clinton was not. But CNN was going out on ride-alongs with ICE during the Obama administration, and everything ICE did was good. It was all good. And he had the highest numbers of deportations, and the news media was, wow, he's really a good president. Isn't this great? Got gang members and all this stuff. Man, oh, man. Now the mental illness. Now let's, number 14, right? Number 14. Yesterday on CNN, they've got a reporter, anchor, a fanker named Sarah Seidner, and she's going to interview a left-wing radical extremist on the Minneapolis City Council named Robin Wansley.
Joining me now is Robin Wansley, a Democrat on the Minneapolis City Council.
Yeah, so just first want to offer clarification that I am the city's first Black Democratic Socialist city council member, a minority leader. I'm not a Democrat, so wanted to offer that clarification.
The city's first Black, that's what she said. So if the lead with the race, like we can't see, you're on TV. The first Black Democratic Socialist city council member, and she's a radical, she's an extremist, she's a socialist, she's Wansley.
Joining me now is...
Oh, wait, actually, because she's on CNN, and what she wants now is a moratorium, that is to disallow going forward evictions of any illegal alien gang members that have taken up residence in people's homes and apartments, and they refuse to leave, and they may not be paying the rent. But she wants to make sure that no illegal alien gang member will be left behind, and they'll be saved by the Democrats and the socialists running Minneapolis, which used to be the land of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I'm bringing a resolution calling on Governor Walz to declare a eviction moratorium, because as we're living under this occupation, people can't, as we seen with last night's shootings, they can't even travel on the expressway safely.
As we saw last night, they can't even travel on the expressway safely. I think she meant to say expressway. Not that it's not an espresso, it's an expressway. And she wants the governor to declare. Now, again, she's city council. but she doesn't want the State House to pass a law. She doesn't want the City Council to pass a law. She wants it done by fiat, like the fascist Nazi socialist that she is. You know, the Nazis called themselves the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, after all. And these people are the socialist workers. This actually reminded me of that idiot on MSNBC, Lawrence O'Donnell, who famously protested on Morning Joke that he's not just a liberal, he's not a Democrat, he's a socialist.
I am not a progressive. I am not a liberal who's so afraid of the word that I had to change my name to progressive.
I'm not either.
Liberals amuse me. I am a socialist. I live to the extreme left. The extreme left of you mere liberals, okay?
And that's hilarious because they murdered 100 million people in the last century and stole country after country and brutalized 1 billion people, created the Gulag Archipelago and, you know, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and Adolf Hitler's Socialist German Workers' Party. But never mind all that. And let's go to their chief law enforcement officer in the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, a former member of the House of Representatives, and he's a radical. He's a leftist. He's a racist. And he's the attorney general of the state. And Renee Good, who was dropped her kid or somebody's kid off and then went and parked her SUV sideways across a road, blocking vehicles in order to illegally obstruct federal law enforcement operations, right? And then when the police told her to get out of her car, she refused and then punched it and tried to run over a federal law enforcement agent who shot her. And she crashed the car into him, as much as the Democrats want to deny it. He suffered internal injuries, internal bleeding. And Keith Ellison, the chief law enforcement officer, a Democrat, declares her to be the hero of the story.
Renee Good. I want you to remember her name. She's a martyr. She's sacrificed.
Murder.
She's been taken away from us, and we will never forget her. We'll always hold up her memory. Are we right? And I want you to know that this lady, she died when she was trying to help the most vulnerable neighbors in our community.
The most vulnerable neighbors. They love calling criminals rapists, child rapists, and murderers and illegal aliens their neighbors. Their neighbors. Not exactly, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, but there you have it. And this Wansley socialist on the city council, she called an occupation. You can't drive down the highway safely. Well, if that's true, it's because of lefties being violent and attacking everybody and all that. But she's a martyr, like, for the cause of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. They're using, now look, they've got suicide attackers. The Democrats have had more suicide attackers than I could list here off the top of my head. They've got them all the time. We just had another one earlier this week, a suicide attack on a police officer in North Carolina, right? Sitting in his vehicle outside of the police center. They didn't call it the police station, the police center. And shot up his car with incendiary rounds that blasted holes through the door, injured the police officer, taken to the hospital. And the psychopath then raced away, got into a second gunfight with more police. Then he shot himself in the head rather than being arrested. Democrats are committing suicide by self-immolation all over the country, from the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas to the Israeli embassy in Washington, to the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, to the Trump trial in New York, where a Democrat self-immolated outside the courthouse in New York. That all killed themselves, right? They're all killing themselves. The Democrat that self-immolated at the Supreme Court on Earth Day because he was angry about people putting smoke into the sky. Every day is an IQ test. But there's Keith Ellison. She's a hero. We'll remember her forever because she was blocking and obstructing a federal law enforcement operation targeting child rapists and murderers that are also illegal aliens. And the Democrat Party calls them heroes because he's a filthy miscreant, Keith Ellison, not a smart man. She's a martyr. She's a hero. We will remember her forever. We will live for her. You guys should really, Keith Ellison should go self-immolate on live TV. Pretty amazing stuff. Joyless Reed, formerly now of MSDNC, and she's just awful. She's on some thing on the internet that nobody cares about. Renee Good, I've been calling her Georgina Good since this started.
Nobody's safe.
Yeah.
White women aren't safe. They'll kill them too. And so I think it's a George Floyd level moment. I think Renee Good becomes like the George Floyd of this resistance against ICE.
Yeah, the resistance against ICE. If it's against ICE, it's also against the FBI. It's against the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Let's not leave out explosives. But she's the new George Floyd. You remember they burned the country down from Seattle and Portland to Los Angeles to Kenosha to Atlanta to Washington, D.C. They looted this neighborhood around the radio station. The Lord & Taylor store next door was looted repeatedly, and now it's empty and nobody works there. And that's because the Democrat Party, aren't they something? You may remember Barack Hussein Obama. He was president of the United States, believe it or not, for 8 years. Isn't that amazing? He was on the side of Iran. He was funding Iran with airplanes filled with cash, wrapped up in shrink wrap on pallets coming off the ramp of cargo planes, cash. And he didn't even send American money because he hates America. He sent euros in cash. Barack Obama was not on our side. He is not on our side. He was never on our side. He's anti-American. He's a racist. He's an anti-Semite. His spiritual guidepost was the Reverend Jeremiah Wright of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago, who famously said the Jews won't let Obama meet with him because, the Democrats. But Barack Obama in 2009, and he was brand new to the White House in 2009, and what did he say about illegal aliens then? Sounds like some kind of a fascist Nazi.
You've broken the law. You didn't come here the way you were supposed to.
What?
You are going to pay a significant fine.
Fine.
You are going to learn English.
No, you're not.
You are going to go to the back of the line.
You're going to go to the back. You're going to learn English. You got to learn English. You're not going to pay any fine. We're going to pay you. And Barack Obama and the Democrats and Joe Biden created gift packets. They swung, honestly, Biden swung open the gates of the United States in order to do everything he can to destroy the United States, which is the left. The left has the goal of destroying the United, bringing us down. Barack Obama, that was 2009. This is Barack Obama in 2011.
The 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable. And as long as the current laws are on the books,
racist.
It's not just hardened felons who are subject to removal. We are deporting those who are here illegally.
You racist? What kind of a racist are you? Why are you so anti? You're just a racist. I'm telling you, you guys, you people. All right, let's see. Let's go to the telephones. Oh, let's go to Caesar calling from Temple Heights, Maryland. Caesar, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Thanks for hanging in there, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Man, my frustration has turned into aggravation. By that, I mean, you just quoted all those figures, all that money going out of the country, and I think I got in the wrong business, Chris. I think I should have opened up a daycare and learning center, sir. And so I think because as a veteran and disabled, I've been trying to get my disability elevated from 30% to 100%, and it's like jumping through flaming hoops with gasoline underwear on, Chris. It is amazing how much you have to do to get your medical. You have to show all the data that happened, doctor's reports, things like that. And it's like, goodness gracious, what is going on? These people just come in the country, and man, you get a free ride on everything. Help me understand, Chris. Make it make sense.
Well, I'm not sure I can make it make sense because it doesn't make sense, Caesar, and it's the left. I guess it makes sense in the context of the fact that the hard left and the Democrat Party has been taken over by the hard left. The hard left is here to take down the United States, to take down capitalism, and to leave the country, the world, leave the country in the hands of whatever gang of illegal aliens came through the door last. But to leave the world in the hands of the communist Chinese and the anti-American forces that will take down the voice of freedom and liberty on planet Earth. And as flawed as we may be at times, we're the best game in town on planet Earth. And when we are gone, and the left has been dreaming of this for a long time, back to the Soviet Union and the Maoists, then this planet will become one giant floating slave ship in space because there is no voice of freedom left, Caesar, and that's their long-term goal.
That's it. One more question, Chris. Please
yes,
help me understand. Where is the IRS and all this money going to and fro and not being taxed, sir?
Wow, that is a really great question, and I've got to say I've never even brought that up. Caesar, that is an outstanding question. We got millions of dollars in cash every day going out of the airport in Minneapolis. run by Somalis, $700 million in 2 years. And it's been going on. The news media reporting on it 8 years ago in Minneapolis on television. And, and you remember Barack Obama's administration used the IRS against patriot groups. And you're a veteran, Caesar. You're a patriot. And I'm saluting you, sir. And you're getting short shrift while the Democrats accounted. The Democrats see these people as their salvation, their voting bloc. The voting bloc that will keep them in power forever. It's about greed and a lust for power, Caesar. And, of course, there's a lot of money back there, too.
Does that make any sense to anybody, or is it just me?
An unsurprising but relevant story by Jonathan Turley, the law professor. On his website, Yale University, the Ivy League college, Yale achieves academic nirvana, he says. Study cannot find a single Republican donor on the faculty. Yale University has finally achieved the academic version of nirvana, a state of perfect peace and enlightenment. Recent study found that the faculty had finally purged every Republican donor from its ranks. While 98% of the political donations went to Democrats, not a single professor could be found who gave a single Republican candidate a single dollar. A complete lock for Democrats is in a country that's split evenly between Republicans and Democrats. The Yale Daily News reviewed more than 7,000 Federal Election Commission filings, that's good, from 2025, listing Yale as the employer. And you'll be shocked, 1,199 filings, professor occupation. They give to Democrats. It's a Democrat stronghold. Also, did you see President Trump at the White House yesterday with the Florida Panthers, the hockey, the Stanley Cup winners? They were all dressed like Trump, blue suits, red ties. Hilarious.